Hello and welcome to my tutorial on porting workshop map to CS2 in Hammer Editor. This is focusing on how to replace missing materials. So you have somehow converted your map from source 1 to source 2 and opened it in the CS2 Hammer Editor. If you haven't done this yet, check the description below for a great tutorial on how to do this. Hopefully all your geometry is here, but you probably have a lot of missing materials represented by these ugly red glowing placeholder textures. This means a material from your source 1 map is no longer available in source 2. To fix this, we can save a lot of time by using the Find/Replace Materials tool. If you just want to see how to use this tool, skip ahead to this time. But if you are new to Source 2 or converting maps, let me first explain just one key concept. You will notice that all of your solid brushes from Source 1 have been turned into many triangular faces in a sort of big mess. Mesh-like object called a prefab. So in order to begin editing it, you will have to double-click into it a few times perhaps, and then you're going to go up to the top here and you will probably be in object select mode. So to begin editing the faces of the object, you want to switch to faces selection tool, which is by default shortcut 3. So you can switch between object and face mode using those shortcuts. So now that you're in face mode, you'll see that your prefab is made up of a bunch of triangular faces of polygons. Each triangle you see being selected is a separate face. To make things more efficient when working with materials, we can select multiple faces and then combine them into one. You can hold down the Control key while you're in face selection mode, and Shift key, and you can select multiple faces at once. You can also hold down the Shift key and hold down your mouse button and swipe over the faces as well to select them, which can be useful or a bit faster in some areas. Now, what we're going to do is do that for an area of multiple faces that we want to combine into one. It seems like this area would make sense. And once we have them selected, we'll go over to the Tool Properties palette here. And you're going to scroll down. We'll be doing a lot of scrolling up and down in this menu here. And you're going to look for the button that says Combine Faces, and the shortcut for that is backspace, but I'm going to do everything by mouse clicks so you can see what I'm doing. So we've selected our faces, and then we hit the button Combine Faces. And as you can see, usually if all the faces are coplanar, it will combine them into one face, technically, one surface, I guess. And it will erase the separation between them so that selecting the region is much easier. It doesn't work 100% of the time. Oh well. Now, it is not necessary to go around your entire map and combine all the faces you can before you start replacing your materials, but it can make things easier by cleaning up a bit in certain areas before you start working. Okay. Time to replace this missing material. The first step is to select the face, right-click, and in this context menu, we want to select Lift Material Under Cursor. It is about 3/4 of the way down. Lift Material Under Cursor. There's also Lift Model. There's some other stuff. Make sure you are selecting the right command. Lift Material Under Cursor. Now, on the right side down here again, under active material, we can see that it has selected or sampled that missing material. You can also check the name of it here. This is dprodigy concrete 02.vmat. And then once we have this set, we want to go back to the tool properties menu and look for the tool called find/replace materials under operations again. This is the tool that we're going to use. So go ahead and click that. And the tool properties or options will pop up. Now on the right side, we can see that it has automatically sampled the material already there. The name of the missing material is loaded into the left side under Find. So with that set up, we can check the name of it there. There are a few different options. And because we want to replace all instances of that missing material on our entire map, we will select everything. So under Act On, select everything. Good, now we have that. Now on the right side, under Replace, we will select a new Source 2 material that we want to replace the old material with. So under this half, click on Browse, and the resource viewer, the material browser will pop up. And here you can browse through all of the default materials available in Source 2 for CS2. You can select anything you feel is appropriate. But if you are lucky, there will probably already be a Source 2 material that is very similar or is an updated version of your missing Source 1 material. So if, for example, it is a concrete texture, or you have the name of the material, you can search for it here just to kind of narrow things down a bit, see if there's anything similar. I don't really care about finding an exact replacement. I think I like this concrete texture here, and so I'm going to just select that and hit accept. So now in theory, it's very simple in concept. The old texture, the old material will be replaced with the new one that you selected. And then all you have to do is hit replace. And a little splash box will come up and confirm that the operation has continued successfully. And there are no failures. It should have done what it promised us to do. Hit OK. And now you can close this real quick. And as you can see, it has replaced a good amount of these missing materials, theoretically all of them in our entire throughout the entire map. So that is how you batch replace a missing material. Now we have a few more steps to get the new material looking properly. Because of the converted geometry and all the individual faces, the scale and position of your new material will probably have some inconsistencies that need to be resolved. So let's do that now. And the most efficient way is to select all of the faces that we have now applied this material to. Again, we're doing operations to try and maximize a global affect everything in the model related to this material. So the way we do that is we're going to use this browser down here. This is your asset browser. It contains all the assets in your project, and including all the materials. So you have different tabs here. What I would do is click on this tab it says used. So these are the assets that are already in your project that you've loaded in, like the one we just did. And you can search again for the new material that you placed in here. And you find it. There it is. Now I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to go to this context option, select faces using material. Again, that is select faces using material. So when we do that, it has now selected everywhere in our model that is using this new texture that we imported and replaced the old missing texture with. Now we have all the faces using that. So let's go back to our menu over here, and we have some options up at the top to do some basic modifications, scaling the texture or the material. You can scale it up a bit to a better size. You can also shift it around, doing various operations here. It'll shift it by a certain amount, a certain default amount that can be changed. But you can use that to generally modify any of these textures individually. The faces, I mean. So if that is how you do that for anything that is selected. But again, we don't want to have to do that throughout our entire level, selecting face by face. That would be very tedious. So again, we'll try and do this globally by selecting the material and select faces using material. We have now essentially selected all. And we can do some of these basic operations, and it will uniformly do it for all of the faces that are selected. Now, after doing this, you will still probably have plenty of instances where the material misaligns with itself. For example, over a break in the faces like this. Don't worry, we don't need to go around correcting all of this individually. Although you can do that if you want for some reason. But again, we can correct this globally in the model. This is a different texture in a different part of the area, the map, just to show you an example. So again, with this texture, we will right click on it and lift material under cursor, and that will tell us what it is essentially. Another concrete texture, 12 blend 1. So I'll go into a filter and I will just search for that, and found it here. So that's another texture that we replaced and that we're dealing with now. Seems to be misaligning in some places. This I'm sure is not the only area. So again, we'll right click on it and go to select faces using material. So now we've got that selected everywhere in our map. And what I would do here is, you can, like before, as we did before, you can make adjustments, basic adjustments with the buttons here. But this is not going to correct this alignment issue. Also, this is relatively imprecise. So I will show you how to do this in a much more accurate global way right now. So what I suggest you do first is select one section or face of the material that you want to use as an example that you want to make everything else look like globally. So select an area, and then, for example, I want to make this line in the texture align with the top of my door frame here. So I will select the face. We'll do some adjustments here. And now we see that the texture is in the correct orientation that I would like it to be. So then I will go back up to the top of the tool properties, and you'll see this texture state. You can expand that. And here you will see the exact values for the scale and position of the material that you have selected. So now I will, since I want to move everything, or align everything vertically in the y-axis to be aligned with this one, I will select the shift, that is the position. I will select the y value for shift and just copy that. So you can just Control C, or you can write it down or screenshot it if you're adjusting multiple things. And then we will then again select all instances of this particular material, select all faces using that material. Now we can go back to the texture state and just paste that y value back in. And as soon as we do that, it will globally align all of those textures to have the same y value. So now you can see everywhere else in our model, all the textures have been aligned on the y-axis to the same position that you did for the adjustments on that one originally. So that is the simplest, easiest way I know of, using the fundamental features of Hammer to replace your missing materials and get them more or less back into position without spending a lot of time repainting each polygon in your entire map. There are probably other tips and tricks more experienced Hammer users know of, so please post in the comments any methods that you like to use, and thank you for watching.